Hey, welcome guys. I want to give you a little tour of where we are with this house in Oviedo. We're doing a full house renovation for Lena and James. Come on into the kitchen, I'll show you where we are. Lena and James really loved the setup of their original kitchen, but some of the things that they complained about were storage and natural light. So we made some pretty small changes to make a big impact and to get them what they were looking for in their kitchen setup. So I'm kind of gonna go wall by wall. This is the first wall. So over here, the walls themselves are not actually changing, but we're changing the layout of the cabinets to give Lena and James the kitchen that they want. So in the middle here, we're gonna have a large, tall hutch is what I'm calling it, because it'll have base cabinets on the bottom, but in the middle, we're gonna have these pocket doors that actually open and they have shelving inside, and then once you open the door, you can actually push the doors back into the tall cabinet. So if you want them to stay open, they can stay open, but if you want to close them and hide the appliances and the coffee maker that are going to be behind it, you can do that as well. And this was really important because that's one of the things that Lena was worried about with her kitchen, is that she doesn't want to see appliances out on the countertop, which who does? They're ugly, but we still need them. So this is a good solution for that. Another thing that we're doing over here is doing a docking drawer on the side. So the electrician will actually wire for the power to that drawer. So you can open the drawer, plug in your cell phone, iPad, any chargeable appliance, close it up, and it'll be hidden out of sight. So your countertops are clean and free of clutter. Our refrigerator is actually staying in the same location that it was previously. We're just building out the cabinetry to make it a little bit nicer, have the cabinets go to the ceiling, and highlighting the tall ceilings in this kitchen. So one of the other major changes that we made here is the wall to the old kitchen ended about where I'm standing. So you can kind of see on the tile where we cut out the floor. And this is exactly where the old wall used to be. We had a similar layout to what you're seeing now, but the one big change we made is moving this wall back and adding more square footage to the kitchen. So what that did is it allowed us to make the island larger, and it also gave us more room to make this window larger, which is one of the main changes that we made. Again, kind of going back to what did the homeowner want, listening to the homeowner, and they wanted that natural light. If you look out this window, you can see why we made it bigger. They have this beautiful nature preserve in the back of their house. So it'd be really nice that when they're cleaning their dishes and sitting here doing things they don't like, they can look out to something that they really do. Like planning the cabinetry and the layout for this wall, one of the main changes that we made is we actually pushed this wall back a couple more inches to allow us to have the flexibility to make sure that this sink is perfectly centered with this window. A lot of times existing walls can be out of square and not perfectly straight, so having that flexibility of a few inches will allow us to nail the center line of the sink on the window and make that really dramatic effect as you walk into the room. We really love that detail, and I'm really excited to see how it all finishes out. As we're talking about this, I think this is a good time to maybe talk about the theory of center lines in construction. So a lot of times what you've got in construction is you've got center points of items that you want to line up. So an example of this is the window and the sink, right? You've got a 6-foot wide window, but your sink is only 3 foot wide. So we want the center lines, literally what it sounds like, the center of both of those objects to match up. So what we do is we plan off of the center of the window, we'll match up with the center of the cabinet, we'll match up with the center of the sink. And this concept goes from finishes like this all the way to the foundation. When they give you the plans for your foundation, they say the center line of all the rebar should be based off this spacing. And it's to make sure that you're not measuring off of the edge of something. Everyone knows that the center line is the center of that object, so it ensures that across the board, everyone's on the same page. So you'll see these really tall support beams in front of me, and what are these exactly? So these are called post shores. And the reason that we have these up is to support the structure around this window being replaced. So these are actually, at this point, not necessary because we've already poured the concrete around the window. This is a really great time to look at this because you can see the lintel that was replaced up here. That's already been replaced, it's been inspected, the rebar's been set, and we've poured everything around it. So now this is structural. all of this around the window is carrying the load of the second story above. So at this point, these are redundant. These can be taken down because the concrete has had time to cure. But it gives you a good idea of how we make a window larger in a lot of the Florida homes that have the block construction on the first floor. So this wall will pretty much stay the same as well. Again, we're moving the sink down slightly to be centered with the new window, but we'll have the same dishwasher, trash can setup that she had previously. And then behind me is the island. So we had to coordinate the island electrical to make sure it came down to the very furthest point of the island, because we're gonna have a setup where it's a standard cabinet that's about 12 inches wide, two 36-inch drawer bases, and then another spice rack cabinet at the end. But those two 36-inch drawer bases will actually have what's called a toe kick drawer underneath them. So underneath them, we actually can't have the electrical come up because those will be moving drawers, and you don't wanna have electrical around anything that's moving that could potentially damage any of the wires. So we coordinated to make sure it came to the end cabinet where there's nothing underneath it. And that's why you see some additional cuts in the slab to make sure we got that to the furthest point. So it was one of kind of the surprises that we found when we started demoing, is that this wall actually had the island cabinetry in it. So we had to continue that trench. Previously it ended right here in that old wall, but we continued it to the new wall that we built. So let's go over here and take a look at the bar area and pantry. This is gonna be really cool because from the far point in the kitchen, you'll be able to see this really cool accent bar. And basically what it's gonna be is a wine cooler with drawers next to it. And then above, we're gonna have these beautiful fluted glass doors with some wine storage horizontal underneath it. So this will be a really cool focal point from the furthest point in the kitchen that'll kind of draw your eye further into the room. And then as we continue into the pantry, so this whole area used to be the dining room, and the homeowner said, we don't want a dining room, we never use it, it doesn't make any sense for us in our lifestyle. So let's make a pantry so we have extra storage for all of the things that we need as a family. So that's what we did. We framed up these walls to make a walk-in pantry. So as you come in, you'll see where we had to make the windows smaller so that you've got this really beautiful focal point when you look out, again, capitalizing on the views. And then on either side, we're gonna have cabinetry. So this side will actually be floor to ceiling cabinetry with one tall cabinet here on the end for brooms, vacuums, that sort of thing. And then on this side, we're actually gonna have a small countertop for any overflow countertop appliances that they don't necessarily need in their kitchen. And then over here will be some floor to ceiling shelving as well. So lots and lots of storage. I'm sure that I know I'm really envious of the storage space, and I think most people would be as well. Let's continue to the bathrooms to see the changes we're making there. So just in here, we've got the secondary bathroom that's downstairs. We're referring to this bathroom as a guest bathroom. We didn't have to make a lot of major changes in here, but we did have to make some significant changes that down the line we will appreciate. So one of them is at the vanity. I marked on the floor exactly where the drawer base, so this vanity will actually have drawers in it, and the open area will be for the plumbing on the floor. And what this did was it allowed us to see that the line for the drawer base was intersecting where the plumbing was. So the plumbing was actually into the cavity where the drawers would go, which you can't do. The drawers go all the way to the back of the cabinet, and you need room for the plumbing to have your P-trap and all of the plumbing that will eventually feed the sink. So I had the plumber move the plumbing over slightly in order to get out of the cavity of the drawer base. Also, by laying out the cabinetry on the floor, I was able to see that the cabinetry that we planned for is actually a little bit short of where the cabinetry was previously. So we're gonna talk to the cabinet crew about potentially making either this space, this cavity right here, a little bit wider, or maybe even adding a filler to make up that extra space so we can bring this to the end and not have to replace any of the existing tile under the toilet. So another change that the electrician has not made yet, but he will make, is moving this light fixture a little bit higher on the wall. And why is that important? Well, the mirror that's gonna go here is gonna be a framed mirror. And when you've got a beautiful, nice, tall ceiling like this, it's really nice to be able to accentuate that feature and make a mirror that's a little bit more narrow and a little bit taller. And what that does is it highlights the height of the ceilings, but it also makes them feel taller than they are, which who doesn't want taller ceilings, right? Toilet's gonna stay the same. As you can see, it's stayed here. Let's look at what's going on over here in the shower. When we demoed the tub, one of the things that we found is this really large conduit wire right here. So the previous builder had actually put the power for the AC unit, which is behind this wall in the garage, in the bay of the toilet, which is extremely dangerous and something that we would never do as a contractor. So one of the changes that we actually have to make on this job is to move that wire out of the cavity of this. Not only is it dangerous and we would never do it, but we can't do it now because this is becoming a shower. So you'll see here that we've got a pretty big cut out of our slab. And what are we doing with that? So the drain for the tub, typically you've got your shower head, your tub spout, and everything is on one end. So the old drain for the tub actually used to be here on this side of the shower. Well, the homeowner wanted the drain to be centered in the new shower. So we had to dig through the slab, and you'll see some significant concrete thickness right here. That's because this is the footing going into the garage. So we actually had to cut through some of the footing in order to move the drain and get the depth that we needed in order to make it work. So the new drain location is where you're seeing it. All the dirt is dug out for the plumbing inspection. So as soon as that's done, we will backfill, we will do a termite spray to make sure there's no bugs, and then we will re-pour the slab. So here we are upstairs in the secondary bathroom, and we're calling this bathroom the boys' bathroom. So we'll start in the shower area. Similar to downstairs, we had to move the drain. This was a tub before, we're making it into a shower. So it's a little bit different because you'll see that there's subfloor. That's what this plywood is called, that's cut out in order for us to move the drain line. And the hole that you see down there is just some drywall we had to cut out for an AC issue that we were fixing. We've got the shower head. We raised it up. A lot of times the shower heads in the older homes were mounted so low, it's really uncomfortable for tall people like my client and her sons. So we raised the shower head up to 7 feet. We added the curb, moved the plumbing, and then again, we put the valve on this side of the shower so that you can turn the valve on without getting wet. Your shower head's over here. So again, some small changes that will have a huge impact. Our framer's coming back to put niches in, so he'll put a niche on this wall. Downstairs, he'll do the same thing so that there's storage inside the shower. I like to put the niches in the sidewalls because personally, I don't like to walk into a shower and see a bunch of shampoo. I want to put it somewhere where it's hidden because inevitably, even though a niche is pretty, it's going to be covered with shampoo, so there's no reason to have that front and center in my mind. Let's continue to the primary suite across the hall, and we can look at the changes we made over there. So here we are in the primary bathroom. We're making some small changes here, but large impact. It's kind of the theme throughout our project. Over here, you can see in the tub area, this used to be a built-in tub. So you can kind of see where we had to demo around the tub enclosure, and obviously there's no enclosure anymore because this is actually going to be a freestanding tub. This wall used to actually be a knee wall about this high with glass above it, but what we're doing is we're changing it into a curb. So the glass will sit on top of the curb and it'll go from floor to the top of the glass enclosure. So that'll make the shower feel even larger. This is his vanity over here, so didn't have a lot of changes. This is actually the one bathroom where we're not going to change the light fixtures. We're gonna keep them at the same height as where they were because we have this beautiful condition where the mirror area is actually framed on all sides by a wall. So we actually don't have to have a framed mirror here. We're going to do a beveled mirror that actually fits from the countertop all the way to the ceiling and wall to wall. So it's gonna be really beautiful and still give you that impact of higher ceilings, more grand vanity space. As we continue down the stairs, you can kind of see this beautiful grand 2-story foyer. So we call this a clear story where it's 2-story height, but there's no floor in between. So it gives you this really grand feeling. And you can see how beautiful this light fixture is. I just love what she picked with that, super classic. And what we talked about doing in here is actually taking the texture on the drywall and doing what's called a level 5 finish. So what that means is we put multiple coats of mud, drywall mud, onto the wall to create a smooth finish. And they sand it and then they do it again. So that'll create the effect of really smooth walls. And then on top of that, we're gonna do an applied molding. So the applied molding on top of the drywall, when we paint it all the same color, it will actually look like we did paneling on the walls for a lot less money. I wanna continue the molding into here so that when you come in from the front door, which is where you're standing, you see this beautiful archway, but with molding along the ceiling, along these walls, and then also highlighting it in our wall molding above there. So all throughout this room, it's gonna feel really grand. We'll paint it all the same color, and I think it's gonna feel really awesome when you walk into the house and also highlight that beautiful light fixture.